All right, we are back. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sales Pipeline Radio. I'm your host, Matt Hines. Excited to have you here as we record this in the U.S. on a Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. Just excited to have our guest today, Jason Yarborough. Last time I'm going to call him by his full name. We're going for Yarby from this point forward. Here's what, Jason, I told you that I used Claude to help me prepare for this episode, and I asked it to sort of give me a sort of a quick read summary of Yarby. So here's what it said. And I want to get your feedback on this. You ready? Can you hear me? Can't hear me. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Do we blame this on Montana?
I don't know if you can hear me, but I have lost contact.
Oh no, I can hear you. We were talking to each other so nicely just right before we went live. So we're either going to blame this on Montana or blame this on StreamYard. Maybe a little bit of both. We'll figure it out. I'm not going to read your intro until you can hear it because I want you to react to your intro. So we'll get there. Well, anyway, Yarby is with his lovely wife is the co-founder of Arcadia. You can check it out at beararcadia.com. So what they're doing. Sort of a different and unique way of just helping people with leadership challenges, not in a conference room or boardroom, but outside in yurts. And super excited to talk to Yarby about that here today. See, we got him back. Yarby, are you back? Can we hear you?
I am back. I am so sorry about that. That was crazy.
It's all good, man. This is live, but don't worry about it. Hey, listen, while you were gone, I was blaming Montana. I was blaming StreamYard.
Okay.
I was blaming. That's as far as I got, actually.
I most oftentimes blame Montana. I think we're shipping in internet from your neighborhood. So like in today, it's cloudy and snowy here in Montana. So like everything is crazy. So it's definitely Montana's fault. We can blame.
I mean, look, I'm a simple guy, and I still think the fact that I can be talking to you basically live, and you're all the way over there in Montana. I mean, I just still think this is incredible.
We're in the future, Matt. This is the future.
This is the future. I'm working with a group in Japan now, and I have to really I have to continue to not go to the recurring dad joke of you're literally in the future. I'm talking to you and it's already tomorrow. I don't know how that is possible, but it is tomorrow whenever I talk to you.
I can't resist that either when I get to talk to somebody in Australia, which happens quite a bit. So I'm right there with you. It's okay. We're dads.
Well, I mean, the nice thing about most dad jokes is they are apparent.
Okay.
All right. So here's what I didn't want to read until you got on. Okay, so here's how Claude wrote my intro to you. Ready? Here we go. Yarby is one of the most recognizable voices in the partnership world. He spent the last several years arguing that ecosystem-led motions are the third leg of revenue, along with inbound and outbound. And he's got the receipts: 300% ARR lift across several roles. He's played as VP of partnerships at a number of companies. He's now running Arcadia as a part consultancy, part community, part leadership retreat. He is disarming, story-driven, allergic to BS, and a big believer in trust as the operating system. How'd she do? How'd Claude do?
I mean, that was about 99.8% accurate. I'm impressed. That was good. Third leg of revenue. I don't know. I mean, like that puts me kind of low on the totem pole, but it's a robot. We'll give her some.
Well, I didn't say last leg. I said third leg. Like if you have a stool and you don't have all three legs, you're going to fall down fast.
This is true.
Very true. And I could argue that like most companies are sitting, look at that, and thinking, okay, I got inbound, I got outbound, I got all bound, and aren't putting the kind of time and attention into partnerships that they can and should. I feel like for a while,
a very valid point.
Well, we had this like near bound, we had this like partner-led growth, sort of frothiness for a while, and I feel I haven't heard about it in a while. I don't think it's because it doesn't work, because it clearly works. Is it because it's hard? Is it because it's a lot easier to just put together some outbound campaigns and pick up the phone and make calls? Partner programs can be extremely lucrative, but they're more nuanced to get up and running.
Yeah, definitely that. They're more nuanced to get running, and they're challenging. They're challenging in the sense that like there's not a tried and true playbook the way there is with sales, but also it's kind of a new motion. I've talked about on LinkedIn before that a lot of like today's CROs didn't really come up in like today's partnership motion, right? A
Right.
lot of today's CROs know reseller motions. They know MSPs and VARs and whatnot, right? We're running resell referral models now. We're running nearbound models. We're running integration partnerships and all this other stuff that is not a reseller, and it's hard to really kind of measure, track, and monitor in a way that sales has it nailed down. Everyone's got a different idea of what it looks like. And I think, and going back to the initial like tripod conversation or three-legged conversation, is like the reason I set up Arcadia and chose that name because it means harmony. And what I was trying to do is like, how do we establish harmony between partnership, sales, and marketing? So yeah, there are three legs there, and really for partnerships to really work, it's got to be more natively and naturally integrated into the
Yeah.
work that the sales team is doing and the marketing team is doing. Most time it gets pushed off as like a different silo, or it gets pushed off as the partner team can go do that. But really, when I saw this massive uptick in net new revenue and influence revenue at Drift, it's because we built this motion that natively integrated partner data, strategy, and tactics directly into everything the field team was doing. And
Yeah.
once we did that over the course of like 18 months from the tech side of the tech partners specifically, we saw a 500% increase in revenue. It went wild. We had 750 partner intro requests that were submitted from our sales team to work and talk with our partners. We had marketing that wasn't doing a whole lot of partner offers at the time, like webinars, events, stuff like that. Start running a whole partner-led motion through the marketing initiative. That was our buddy Justin Keller over there. We were working together, and we just had a lot of great fun watching this thing take off by actually getting it built in and establishing harmony.
And one of the things I think that's a limiter for a lot of companies when it comes to partnerships is if you think about it as that third leg, and we put that relative to inbound and outbound, it makes it sound like it's a
Hmm.
lead channel, and it can be. But what you're describing, what I've seen work elsewhere, is like you can get like up to 40% greater lead velocity and conversion when partners are involved, right? So it's
100%.
not just lead source; it's also just integration across your customer and prospect base.
Anytime I do sales enablements and training to the sales teams, I have this say that I get them to repeat back to me is that partnerships are a bigger, better, faster path to revenue. It's fun to say bigger, better, faster, right? And that's what everybody was looking for. Every CRO, every sales rep was looking for that bigger, better, faster path to revenue. And that's where partners come in: bigger deal sizes, faster deal velocity, bigger, better deal cycles, faster.
So I wanted you to join Sales Pipeline Radio, not because I really want to talk about partnerships, but I wanted to talk about Arcadia and the work you're doing now. So
Yes.
you and your wife, Sam, co-founded Arcadia Group, I don't know, a few years ago. And I mean, first of all, let's take a step back from there. You moved your family to Montana on purpose. And I'm
Correct.
curious, like for where you are now, and I think a lot about not just the work we do, but the life we create for ourselves and those we care about around us. What does a Thursday look like for you that wouldn't have been possible if you were doing this in the Valley, in Silicon Valley, or somewhere similar?
Yeah, depends on the day, really. Could it be look like I could get out on the river really easily? There's been times where I've checked out of work at about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I can be on the Gallatin River in 15 minutes, and I can have a line in the water in less than 45 door to door. Couldn't do that before, right? There's been times where I've got a light afternoon of calls, and I'll go down to the river, and I got a spot where cell service works, and I take calls while I'm fishing. Not possible. Like being here like Thursday mornings, I can wake up. The sun comes up here about 4:45, which means I can hit a trail at 5 a.m., get a 5-6 mile run in the morning, and be home in time to send the kids off to school. And those are the things that like I prioritize in my life. It's about how can we enjoy this one shot that we get? How can we have an experience? And Sam, my wife, is from Bozeman. She brought me out here in 2016 for a few months while we were working remote. We spent lots of time hiking in between calls and working and stuff like that. And then I just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the ability to get outside and recreate. You and I were just in San Francisco together the other day, and like I get to go to these big cities and get that out of the system, but I get to come back home to Montana where it's like it's almost immediate like decompression.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really happy for you guys and for your family to have that. And I think part of what I love about Arcadia is you're bringing some of that to leaders and leadership in a
Yeah,
retreat format that isn't a conference room or boardroom. It's outside. Can you tell people like
it
what
is.
what is it that you have built and why from your perspective so special?
Yeah, so we built Arcadia shortly after launching the consultancy because I was talking about having all these people at the table together, partnerships, sales, marketing, CS, product, whoever. And so I was like, to get them at the table, like it'd be fun to host like some sort of conversation, which turned into let's host an event, right? Then we like, well, let's do it in Bozeman because nobody ever does events in Bozeman, Montana.
Right.
And then if we're gonna do it in Bozeman, Montana, it became like if you give a mouse a cookie. Sam, I had an idea. Sam was like, "Yeah, it's a good idea." So I just took off with it, and I was like, "Well, if we're gonna do it in Montana, we're gonna do it real Montana style. Do it outside. We're gonna put everybody in glamping tents, and we're gonna give them an experience they remember. Because how many conferences do you go to where you rarely remember the actual experience of the conference? Maybe you remember a couple of conversations, a happy hour, or something like that. But ours, like we believe that we believe the psychology that says 2.5 hours can begin to rewire the nervous system. And most of us live in a sympathetic state of a nervous system where we're just always on alert, constant stress. And so if you're spending 2.5 days outside in nature, what's that going to do to your nervous system? It's going to completely reset it, get you back to that parasympathetic state of your nervous system where you're kind of relaxed, you're more focused, you're more controlled. And I think with right now, like the big thing that I'm looking at as I talk to more and more leaders is that there's something wild happening. Like on LinkedIn, we're all winning, right? We've got better titles, we've got more money, we've got more visibility, more followers, more meetings, more Slack notifications than anyone should ever have to endure in their life. But yet,
Right.
what's happening? I think a lot of people feel disconnected from themselves. Like we're not failing, we're just disconnected because I think modern leadership rewards output while quietly draining the things that actually make somebody feel alive. Like we're always have to be available. We've constantly got to perform. We've got to respond instantly, consume endlessly, optimize every minute. And now we've got AI who's making us do that on steroids, right? So we've prioritized performance over presence. And somewhere along the way, leadership became theater. Like everybody's crushing it. Meanwhile, marriages are struggling. Nobody's sleeping. Friendships are a surface level, and there's a loneliness. There's an epidemic that comes along with that. Stimulation becomes mistaken for fulfillment. All right, we're overstimulated, we're undernourished, we're underslept. Right, brain never gets quiet enough to process life. Like when you lose silence, I think you lose clarity, and that's a lot of like why we bring leaders out to Montana. We focus less on like the content side of the house because we can get content in spades these days. We can get that anywhere. So we have a couple of sessions in the morning. We've got somebody come and talk go to market this year, do a little workshop. We've got people like leadership coaches. We've got Lindsay Chichimka coming to speak about building a brave business, brave life, brave soul. Sam and I talking about some of the stuff, and other people that are talking similar things around some of the stuff that we can help leaders rewire while we're outside. And the afternoons are built around fly fishing, hiking, yoga, sound baths. You're having lunches at picnic tables outside, and so you're constantly in different small groups of people being able to talk, converse, and you're all in kind of this peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. So you have to be a director level or above to attend, so that you're kind of all facing somewhat similar challenges in the work that you do, while also like getting a chance to just stop, breathe, rewire, refresh. The first year we had a very happy I don't call that accident, but we didn't really know the cell service was going to be crap. We didn't know the Wi-Fi didn't really work that well in certain locations, and towards the end of it, people were like, "Wow, that was actually really nice." Like I didn't have to be on, didn't have to respond to anything. We just kind of like they got to be present, which we never get to do.
Boy, sign me up, man. I mean, everything you just described sounds amazing just in general. And I can tell you that, as events seem to be coming back in volume and frequency over the last year or so, and that's why I look at the calendar, like that's going to continue as companies try to get people
Mhm.
together. There's the agenda, but then there's the relationships and the conversation that are having amongst people. And I think that, you know, to be just as intentional about location and environment of that
Mhm.
conversation. I was at an event a couple weeks ago, Chili Piper put on, and it was outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And it was outside quite a bit as well, right? And so they
Yeah.
could have had the same conference in a Vegas conference room, and it would have been very different. And so I think there's something about the environment you put people in that can actually sometimes help them be more open and vulnerable for the conversations that are going to have the lasting impact for them. Right before we came on live, you mentioned the modern leadership trap. I was thinking about that phrase as you were describing sort of our focus on hustle and title and sort of
Yeah.
how we show up on LinkedIn versus the authentic selves that can really help each other if we're allow it to come through. But why don't I let you
Completely.
extrapolate further on that modern leadership trap idea?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the little diatribe I just went down there. It's like, we're expected to always be on. We're expected to always perform, right? It's a loneliness that nobody talks about, right? It can be incredibly isolating because we stop being known, we start being transactional, right? Every conversation becomes tactical. Every relationship becomes transactional. Every interaction becomes tied to performance. I think eventually, leaders are they begin to break and buckle under the pressure of it, which is why I think we're seeing burnout at an alarming rate right now.
Yeah.
We've confused stimulation for fulfillment, right? They got the constant input these days, like LinkedIn, Slack,
Right.
podcast. Oh, let's go back to LinkedIn and check that again because I may have got a notification, right? We got email, news, notification, all the things, man. And the brain never gets quiet enough to process all this. It never gets to slow down and stop because that's the expectation right now. Because if you look at some of these companies that are touting these high valuations, we're raising millions and millions of dollars, but with that comes so much pressure. And I've seen it firsthand. Some of these companies I've been around, been involved in, and the leaders begin to crack, break, and they're burnt out, and they're trying to find uh, ways to kind of like get back to themselves and who they are,
Yeah.
and they don't know where that happens.
You have to. I mean, you have to make it for yourself, right? It used to be there were rhythms of life where it kind of happened automatically. Like I'm old enough. I remember when you used to
Yeah.
like have to go to the office, and if you left the office, you left your desktop there, and there was no email on your phone. You went home and you were home. You used to be able, you could get on an
Yeah.
airplane. You weren't expected to work because there was no Wi-Fi. And now, fast forward to today, you go down to where we were in San Francisco. Like, if you don't have 14 workflows running simultaneously on Claude, are you really working hard enough? If you don't have
Right.
it doing 16 things overnight, while and checking on it real quick before you go to bed and checking on it again when you wake up, are you really working hard enough? I mean, where does it end? And
Yeah.
so I think
100%.
about, I think about as I get older and my kids get older, I mean, work's important to me. I got to pay the bills, and like the impact I think we can have as a business for our employees and customers. I believe in that,
Yeah.
but I also need those cadences of slow. I need those cadences of time away because that's where life happens. And so I think
100%.
it's really interesting to me to think about like how do we bring that back into business? How do we create times where we can talk about our business and life,
Mhm.
but do it while we're fly fishing, right? Do it
That's right.
while we're sitting outside amongst just nature's beauty.
Mhm.
I think it's an amazing thing. I know we've only got a couple more minutes here before we gotta let you go. So you created Arcadia with your wife. You co-host a podcast. You guys have kind of intentionally blurred work and life here.
Yeah.
How do you make that work? Because you've got these business things together, and then you've got two kids together, and how do you make that work together?
That's a good question. And most people, especially most couples, think we're absolutely crazy. But really, man, we're having a blast. Like we thoroughly enjoyed the time we spend together. One of the things we really do is we prioritize connection and communication over all things. Not only connection and communication with each other, but with ourselves.
Mhm.
Right. I think, going back to some of that leadership trap is like I don't feel disconnected from the work that I do in the life that I live. I feel very much holistic in that approach. And I think Sam does as well, simply because we talk about it a lot. We provide space for it a lot. One of the things I was thinking about the other day is that like humans need white space, right? We just can't always be on.
Yeah.
And living in the place that we live, we get access to do a lot of that and we prioritize it. I
Yep.
know that it's very important for Sam to have time outside and touch grass. I know it's very important for myself to have the same thing. And so we work with each other to prioritize that amongst all that we're doing. We've got two kids, so like we understand like when each of us needs time, needs to do something, and we work together really well as a team. And we generally not only we definitely certainly care about each other, but we also care about the work that we do in the life that we live, and we
Yeah.
bring that all into the life that we create together. And it's very intentional. We talk a lot about it.
I was literally just about to say, I hear a lot of intentionality, right? And I think that throughout everything we've talked about, on this episode. And I think too often, I think it's easy to just get wrapped up in what's next and what's in front of us. Well, these guys are doing that, and these guys are, these bros on LinkedIn are saying that, and just reacting and flowing with what everyone else is saying and doing, as opposed to saying, what is right for me? What am I going to prioritize, and how am I intentional about making that happen? It may not work exactly as you want all the time, but the more intentional you are about it, the more likely you're going to be able to claim that for yourself and for the people around you.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to roll out of bed and look at my phone first thing in the morning. Actually, I don't let myself do it for the first hour. I get up super early. I get a cup of coffee. I go work out. I read a book, and then I get the kids up, and then maybe I'll check the phone a little bit later. Right? I don't feel like my work has to be my life, and if I don't get to an email, then I know that the economy is not going to collapse because of one message I didn't get to right away.
Absolutely. Well, I know we got to wrap up here. For people that want to learn more about you, learn more about Arcadia, where can they go?
I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. You can find me just Yarby, linkedin.com/n/Yarby. Jason Yarborough is there. Or you can find us at arcadialeadershipexperience.com if you want to learn more about the event. We've also started a membership-based community after all the conversations that we had at the live events. You can find more about that at Be Arcadia. It looks like Bearcadia, but it's actually Be Arcadia, but it's also why I chose a bear as the logo, just so I can mess with people that are looking at the domain, some bear.
I assume that Bozeman, it was intentional, but that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being part of this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, what's funny about the bear is the moment we decided to make the bear logo, I saw 6 bear that week. That was more in one week than I've seen in my entire time living in Montana up to that point. And I think it was a good sign.
It's definitely a sign. All right, buddy. Thanks again for doing this. So say hi to your lovely wife. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Sales Pipeline Radio. We'll be back next week. More guests, more insights. We'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks, y'all. See you.